Hey Dennis, good to have you here. We just want to have a small video shoot with you to basically share with the team back home who's working on the entire KinderCare project, as well as anyone new who comes onto the project as the team expands.
Yep.
Just to understand a little more about KinderCare as a company, your evolution, because the entire early care for children which you've been doing, it's been a very traditional, I would say, industry, right? And during the pandemic, obviously there was a lot of flux, there was a lot of change, there was a lot of new paradigms which came into picture. So just wanted to get a perspective from you as to how KinderCare as a company has evolved. What are they seeing for the future as well? So that the team gets a much better perspective about the company, number one.
Okay.
A little more details about the technology, how your vision in terms of where do you want to take it to the next level from a transformative journey perspective. So if I might open with that and give you...
It's a lot there.
It is.
So yeah, I can talk a little bit about the company. KinderCare continues to see a tremendous need for childcare, and that just is only growing. With the pandemic, we saw a lot of our competitors, unfortunately, fall out of the market.
Right.
KinderCare has always been an advocate of early childhood education, regardless if it's us providing the service, because we think the need's so strong, but there's even more of a gap for us to fill now. So so we see that. I think with that, our leadership and ownership is looking at how do we continue to enhance the experiences we're creating for families. We're not really a technology company.
Right.
We're an experience company, and it's about that experience for families with our teachers and center directors. But I think as time goes on, we realize it has to be augmented by technology. There's expectations from families that when they walk out of the center, so the one that's easiest to envision, and I know I experienced this with my kids, is when your child's upset that you're leaving, it ruins your day.
Yep.
You go to work and you think of every regret for having your child in childcare. What's actually happened is your kid has got over that within a minute and is having a great time. So simple things like adding photos and videos that we could share over an app, amazingly successful. And that was just a starting point of like, how do you extend that experience? There's so much more we can do there and we'll continue to do in terms of whether it's the app experience for families that are enrolled with us, or how to make that process of inquiring much more comfortable, particularly for a first-time family. Like, how do we make that feel really well-crafted, easy to intersect with us, instead of what I think it's been is a very difficult process and often driven by channels that they're less comfortable with, like needing to call on the phone versus be able to get all that information in an app or online.
No, and I can relate to what you said. Although my son is now 22 years old, the first time I left him alone in a school,
it's really hard.
My wife was like constantly calling up the school, and they were getting irritated, right? But as a parent, you really want to know what's going on. Is the child okay? So I can relate to what you're saying, and you've had that from a personal experience as well. So what has been I'm sure that there is constant feedback which is coming back from the parents as well as to what they would like to see. Is that how are you incorporating that feedback today?
Yeah, I mean so how are we incorporating it? I think what we're doing to this point was we went with an MVP for our app, and didn't have the capability to really expand beyond that on a number of channels. And digital transformation, curriculum being one of those pieces, was our opportunity, and that continues to be our opportunity, is to, how do we step out of a scenario where IT is driving the change, put that power in the hands of business leaders, empower them to drive across all the different parts of our business to create the experiences that our families really want.
Right.
We're aware of them. We have the feedback. I think execution was the challenging part. We had legacy platforms. We didn't have the right structure in our business. Those barriers at some level have been removed, right? We have the ability to execute now, and I think that's why we started to leverage Accion to help us, number one, with thought leadership in terms of how we could go about some of these things, but number two, to manage some of our existing platforms so that we could start to apply our people to where we want to innovate.
No, that's perfect. And I think it's a very good point you make, because yesterday when we were having lunch, you did mention that when you joined KinderCare, you had to relocate from San Diego to Portland.
Yep.
Because the entire team needed to be at one location. And now you have the Accion team, which is thousands of miles away from
Yep.
you, right, in a different country. How was that entire collaboration and the transition which happened? Was it seamless? Were there some challenges? It'd be great for the team to understand.
I think we have multiple teams
Right.
and multiple platforms, and I think they've been a little different, and partially that's because of the maturity that we have in each of those areas. On our center management system, I think that team's been very successful.
Right.
We have been managing that product for a long time. It's been out in the environment. We understood it better, and it's also managed as one discrete product. On the data side, I think we haven't, as a company, made the investments yet
Okay.
to really stand up all the things that we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
We are working on it, but I think the investment hasn't been there, and I think for the extension team, that's been more challenging.
Right.
The good thing is the partnership's always there. I think recently we had an honest conversation with our extension team to say, what can we do
Yep.
to help you be more successful? They came back with amazing answers.
Okay.
Lots of clarity about exactly what they needed, and we were able to put that in our Scrum Master's hands and say, let's go execute this.
Right.
This is going to make everybody work better together. So I love that, right? I want that partnership to feel very equal, that it isn't a dictate to.
Right.
It's we're only going to be successful if everyone feels comfortable to
Right.
bring up the things they need.
In any relationship, as you said, there's one good part because of the fact that the enhancement team or the extension team actually started providing feedback or thoughts in terms of what being
That's right.
improved. But from your perspective, what would you want to see working better?
I think overall velocity is one opportunity.
Okay.
We've changed. So if you think about on the data side of our house, we initially asked that team to really be focused on bug fixes.
Okay.
Because we were trying to free up our internal
Yeah.
team. I think what we're seeing now is the potential for that team to drive the major initiatives and handle some bug fixes. And to do that, we need to integrate them
Got it.
more tightly. And that's a little dissimilar to what we're doing on our center management side, where that team does operate more independently. So that's the opportunity, is to pull them into the fold and have us operate like one large extended team.
Right.
Be able to take advantage of the talent on both sides, be able to take advantage of working a 16-hour workday effectively,
Follow the
right?
sun, yeah.
But doing that in a way that we can release with reliability.
Right.
And I say to the team, my big focus is we need to have that reliability. Our business needs to be able to depend on the commitments we make,
Right.
that they'll actually happen, and that's been a challenge for us.
Got it.
But I think we have the path
Got it.
to address that through the cooperation that's happening between the teams.
Well, that's fantastic. And I think it'll be good for the team to also understand a little more with respect to the technology
Sure.
vision, which you want them to actually be aware of so they can be prepared to see what's coming their way.
Yes, so I think the vision is pretty broad. Our business stakeholders have had a very aggressive view, which is good, and I think our ownership is backing that. When I think about the core components that I'm focused on right now in terms of what's going to change the experiences for our families, there's three main pieces. There's our parent portal, so this new what we're calling mykindercare.com, which would be that one-stop shop for families to understand everything about their current experiences for enrolled families. Our transformation of our CRM, I think our implementation of Salesforce has never really met the need. It doesn't, as an experience company, help us understand where parents are on their journey,
Right.
whether they're inquiring and interested, or they've been with us for years.
Got it.
So that what we call family manager, family builder now. We're transforming that to family manager.
Right.
And then underlying that, and there's other pieces, but underlying that, the other core capability is data in general.
Okay.
Like as a capability, how do we get better in the data space? Because all of these products that we're building have a dependency, and they're going to have increased dependencies on us being able to create metrics, to
Right.
report, to inform, to create data governance and architecture. And those are things that historically we haven't been strong at. And so those three things have been the emphasis in terms of the technology journey. So if you think about a family that's coming to us now, they're coming in through our website typically.
Got it.
We want to create that experience that is very easy for them to gather the information they need to schedule a tour of the center, to understand availability, to see pricing, and then be able to track them throughout so we can understand if there's any sticky spots where they're not getting what they need, why aren't they enrolling with us quickly. Once they're in our system, to go into the portal and be able to see their bills and pay, potentially look at the curriculum that the
Right.
child might be experiencing, and then
Right.
use our mobile app to on a daily basis,
Correct.
get updates from teachers to understand what's happening. What did my child eat today? What are they learning? What issues came up? Be able to inform the teacher if they weren't feeling well in the morning, but they still came in, like all those little things to make that experience feel really tight and like an extension of their family.
But that is very cool, because one of the things which I have realized is the entire journey, right from the inquiry perspective. It may not convert immediately, but it could come across subsequently. But being aware of the person and then giving that experience in the entire life cycle, because
That's right.
it doesn't end with, for example, the person moving from the childcare to a school, but there is a possibility that there will be additional children, or there'll be recommendations or references which come across. Right, so that's great what you're trying to vision.
Yeah, there's definitely a data model issue there that we're trying to resolve, and that obviously creates benefit to the business. Understanding our families better is going to help us communicate with them more effectively, but we think it also is going to create much better experiences for them. Right?
Perfect, and that's a very, very good segue, because it's not just a concept of technology adoption for the sake of modernization.
Not at all.
Right? Because you are actually ensuring that business is a driver, and there is a clear ROI between the business and the technology aspect. And I think that's important for the team to understand, that we're not doing anything for the sake of just technology to be adopted.
Yeah, when we were talking yesterday about innovation, and I think that's a key aspect of this,
Right.
is that for many years, our focus on trying to drive transformation tended to be platform specific, and we were limited to upgrades and at times almost cosmetic
Right.
changes. When you try to transform, you need to change business process, change experiences, and we needed to have the leadership set up in a way that was able to cut across and to drive and make people uncomfortable at times, but that's where you're going to get to transformation. I think what I tell our team is the biggest risk with digital transformation is that we don't actually transform.
Right.
That when we look back, the things that we've done are things that we could have done in our previous modality, yet we've made all this investment in time.
Correct.
And so I say sometimes we get focused on pieces of flair, like the little things, when what we need to be focused on is the big things. So we have everything, I think, positioned to do that. Obviously with some of our legacy platforms, it's a challenge to move forward, but it feels like that's starting to happen, like we're starting to make the momentum.
Fantastic. Switching gears a little bit, can you tell the team a little more about yourself as a person? What drives you? What are your passions? What do you do in your free time?
There's a whole bunch of things there. Let me think about that. As a person, grew up on the East Coast and relocated to the West Coast. So lived in Boston most of my life, and then San Diego, and now Portland. I worked for our CIO previously in San Diego, and then when he took the job at KinderCare, he offered me the opportunity to take on this challenge. And my wife's family's from the Northwest, so she was excited for the opportunity. So we Yeah, otherwise, I don't think we would have left San Diego, because San Diego is
Right.
quite nice.
Yes, I'm sure.
I think, what motivates me, I think it's the driving change. I think, I didn't really understand the childcare market. I think when I was introduced to KinderCare and met the leadership and, really bought into what we're trying to accomplish. I think, in the US, early childhood education is less of a focus than it is in other parts of the world, and I think it's to our detriment.
Yeah.
So working for a mission-based company that spends so much on enhancing that, whether it be for the kids in our centers
Right.
or more broadly, just kids across the US in general, it really makes it easy to get up in the morning. And, and I see it when people on my team that are several steps removed from a center, but they're thinking about the work they do, how it's going to make life easier for a parent, for a teacher, for a center director. That's really easy to get behind,
It's very meaningful, right?
So that that definitely motivates me as to how are we creating those experiences that are differentiating. 40+% of our families, they're only receiving care because of our ability to subsidize, to work with them on
Okay.
So those are children that wouldn't have that opportunity if it wasn't for our mission.
Yeah.
And that is also really exciting, that we're in communities that our competitors wouldn't be in.
Got it. Fantastic. And I remember you mentioned yesterday that moving to Portland actually opened up the vista for you for skiing, right? Because there's, right?
Yeah. Portland, for those that haven't been in the Northwest, it's an amazing area. Definitely rainy, like we talked about.
Right.
But if you love the outdoors,
Yeah.
from the mountains to the coast to the rivers and lakes, it's sort of an outdoors paradise.
So you know what, last night over dinner when I met Ali for the first time, she did mention that you were a little reluctant to make the trip from Portland to Dubai, right, for the Innovation Summit. So just want to get a kind of a perspective on your expectations when you came in to see, and how's your experience been for the Innovation Summit?
It's been great, and I'll tell you the selling point for me was the opportunity to go meet the team in India.
Right.
I was, the summit sounded great, but that's really, I'm excited about the teams that we have, and they're so important to what we're doing over the long term. So when Santos dangled that opportunity, that was the selling point for me, as I really look forward to meeting everybody. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I hope you met your expectations of the visit to Dubai, and it's worthwhile.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I really feel the partnership. I mean, in between sessions here,
Right.
we're getting together and strategizing about things that are rapidly changing in our business that we need to address. Some of our timelines for one project moved enough that we were reconsidering, and your team got together quickly and said, how can we shift resources, add resources, do things to make it work for us? And that feels really good, and that makes it, on top of all these great presentations,
Right.
the added value of being here is having that opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it,
Yeah.
and lovely talking to you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Take care. Thank you.